It's my first time doing this. I think we're live.
We are live. All right.
So we were just talking about Seattle. So what is it about Seattle that makes houses so expensive? Like why? So we were just talking about Seattle. So what is it about Seattle that?
I don't know what it is about Seattle, but I think jobs just pay more out here, especially in the city of Seattle. And so people get paid a certain amount in Seattle, but they don't want to pay Seattle prices, and so everything kind of just branches off. And so the city of Seattle is more like Seattle Tacoma. So like we were talking about the prices of houses in Kansas City to Seattle, and everyone just makes more out here. So like when I go on vacations to the Midwest and I visit you guys and I see houses for 200,000, I'm like, that is insane. I could my portion of my rent could buy this house, but if I were to live there, my job would probably pay like just enough to cover that house.
That's
So
crazy.
it's all relative to where you're living.
When I hear about Seattle, all I hear about is it rains a lot. It's cloudy. That's all I hear. Like I don't really hear much else. Like I don't, unless I go to Seattle. I hear it's beautiful and it's great and everything, but
okay, so I heard that when I first went to Lindenwood. My friend rains, and I'd just be like, no, it's beautiful all the time. And then I spent some time away from Seattle in a different part of the country, and I went back, and I go, all it does is rain, and it's cloudy all the time. I was just mad every time I was in Seattle. But while I lived there, I defended it. But as a visitor, I was like, I hate this place. All it does is rain.
I know, man.
So, yeah, it is pretty bleak, and that's why the grunge era came out of Seattle, because it's just you're indoors 300 days of the year.
Which is so why do people love to be there?
Okay, so those 2 to 3 months, of course there's rain in between days, but when it doesn't rain, you can go outside. Like if you go outside my front yard right now, you can see Mount Rainier covered in snow.
Okay.
And then if you're just to climb an extra 100 feet above my house, you can see the ocean. I'm 20 minutes from the ocean. I'm 45 minutes away from the mountain. So you can snowboard or you can surf.
I feel like that's just like the whole West Coast. I've been to California a couple of times, but it's just like the whole bank of the shore is just so flipping beautiful. You can't even get anything close to that in the Midwest. So I guess Washington is like kind of similar. You guys are like right on the edge. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we're not as okay. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like the coast in Washington kind of sucks, especially where I live, because we have the Puget Sound. I don't know if you know Washington at all, but we have like a little cut like that, and then there's islands, and so we have a little break coming into us. We have islands like breaking up, so we don't have waves or anything coming into Seattle, Tacoma. But if you go a little bit southwest, you get to the ocean where there's sand. But up where I live, the ocean is just rocks and crabs and kind of sucks. But if you go down to California, you can take the was it the 101? Do the 101 all the way down California? God dang. You're like, all right, this is the ocean. And then you can turn to your left and then you'll see Mount Shasta. It's just like, it's beautiful.
Well, I've always been asked, like, would you rather prefer mountains or the ocean? And I've always said mountains. Like I've been down to Florida to several different beaches, beaches or the mountains. And I've been down to Florida to see like Cocoa Beach and Fort Lauderdale Beach and South Beach and all that stuff. And I've always been like, the mountains are so much cooler. Just the vibe that people are. And then I went to LA. And we were staying right by the airport, LAX, and I took an Uber to Santa Monica. And I rented a bike and just biked down a little bike trail down the beach. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is actually paradise, literally. I mean, I'm sure like LA right now is terrible, and though for a lot of reasons, LA is probably a tough place to live for the amount of people and stuff like that. But just like geographically, it is beautiful. It really is paradise.
I've never been to Los Angeles proper, but you remember you know our roommate Council Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ventura.
Yeah, but I stayed at his house a few times, and he lived in Ventura, and so he was 5 minutes from the beach, and we go there, and they have a pier, and the ocean's beautiful, and I mean that guy was pale as can be, and that guy like it looked like he never seen the ocean in his life, and but when I was visiting, I was like, we're going to the ocean. I'm in Ventura. And so I'd make him go to the ocean. And I was like, God, this is paradise, you know? And I'm sure a house where they live, where his mom lives, is probably like even double the amount of mine, even if I have double the space, because it's just so expensive to live down there.
Well, I've been to his house, and it's probably 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 max.
Yeah, it's not that.
And the houses are like super tight together. You really don't have a yard. You don't have like any side land, and it's probably easily over $1 million. You gotta think.
Yeah, probably. I looked up on, I think I was on Zillow one day, and I was just like, I want to know how much it costs to live in Silicon Valley, and I saw a garage for rent or a garage for sale for $1 million. It was a garage. Someone was selling the garage at their house for $1 million. It was an offset garage. I go, this is insane. Like, no one saw this coming. Or I mean, well, I'm sure people did, and they bought everything they could. But
Paul in Oregon says, Brad, you'd be shocked now. The homeless have moved to the beaches in most areas and made them into trash heaps. I've heard that. I've heard that LA is just becoming all homeless.
Yeah, I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and also other Californians, and they talk about how even where these places where they have the most expensive homes in California or even the world, you go a block away and there's just a row of just homeless camps, because I mean it's the pandemic, but also just the way it is in California. Like, no one can afford rent, and you know, we need more programs out there. I don't know anything about this, but so it's just it's kind of sad to see. And you know, even out here, we have a lot of homeless in Seattle. Like, if you're driving down I-5 and you go through Seattle, as you're going through the busy part of Seattle where all the tall buildings are, so there's just, if you look on both sides of you, there's just homeless encampments underneath the bridges.
Yeah, I know.
Every single bridge.
What do you do?
And it's like, well, how do we fix this? And then, you know, I think in California, what they started to do was, and I think even here, since a lot of motels and hotels weren't getting any business due to the pandemic, they've been, the government might be paying these hotels and then putting homeless up, but the homeless don't even want to stay there because they want to be close to where, like, wherever they get their money for whatever they use it for.
Right.
I'll say.
So I talked to Rhino quite a bit, and he moved out to Spokane.
Yeah, it's a different world. Spokane might as well be St. Louis, because Spokane and Seattle, nothing alike.
But because it's a lot more rural, right? There's just not.
So we have a big giant mountain chain that splits the state, and you have the West, which is liberal, tech, Boeing, Amazon, all that stuff. Where I work, and then you have the East. It's apples. You know, you hear about the Washington apples. Yeah, apples, cherries, wine, and then Spokane's over there somewhere next to Gonzaga. You know, #1 team, I guess.
Isn't that where Marshall's from?
Marshall's from Yakima, which is even more rural than like some of the rural areas.
Dude,
so like there's the Tri-Cities, which used to host a regional, which I've won twice. And if you go like 30 miles south of that, you run to, and you have to go through canyons. We call it Yakistan because it looks like Pakistan. It's just nothing but just brown, or I guess like nothing but canyons, anyways. And that's where that's where Marshall's from, Yakima. And his dad owned a center there. Rest in peace, Jim.
Yeah, I know.
I
All right.
felt so bad. Like I wanted to message Marshall, and I was like, because I lost my dad to cancer as well. I was like, I remember when my dad died, nothing anyone said even resonated. Like I just was like, thanks. I just shoot him off. Like I don't want. All I want is nothing. Like I don't want you guys to message me. Like I'm in pain.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
when your friend's in pain, you want to reach out. But it's just, I was just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna say anything. Then when I see him, I'm gonna give him a hug.
Yep. Yeah, we were in Virginia filming all those shows when his dad passed, and and Darren booked a flight with him back to Washington just so he could have somebody to hang out with on the flight, and then just literally turned around and flew right back. He like flew Marshall home after his dad passed. It was like really cool. Darren's like a really
I love Darren and Michael. I mean, I bowled nationals with them 1 year. They posted on Facebook that they needed people, and then I was like, hey, available. And they're like, cool, you're a PBA member? I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right, you're on the other team. I'm like, damn it, I wanted both you guys. So I was on the other team, and but we bowled like the side events, and we bowled like all the bowlers general. We bowled bowlers general 2 or 3 times. Well, I've only bowled like twice because the first time I bowled it, I shot 300 and like 7 something, and I go, I'm pretty much good. And and my face, I don't know if you noticed. You ever gone on the USBC Open page? So when I shot 300, I took a photo with like, I don't know, carrying a ball or something, and that photo was used. I don't know, it still might be. It's the USB Open page like cover photo for like 3 years.
Really.
I'm just like, why is that one 300 I randomly shot at a side event their main photo? It's so weird.
That is weird.
People go to sign up for the Open Championships and they have to see my mug.
And that's a lot of people too, man. It's probably 100,000 people. What, they got 20,000?
I know, they all got to see my face. They're like, who's this random guy? He must have shot like 299, maybe he averages 180. Who knows?
Too bad you didn't have like your pro shop on there or something. Some like
I know, right? Slap one on like the left shoulder, like on the side right here, because it's yeah. So
let's talk about that. Rhino, he sent me a video of your guys' governor, and it was yeah, he seems like a real character, and it was him saying like, well, we have to slow the spread. And when he was talking about the bowling alley section, he goes, and bowling alleys are included because people just sit there and they throw balls and they sit next to each other and they talk about their scores. Like that was his like mental process of what a bowling alley is. Like just these old guys sitting next to each other saying, oh, I shot 160 and it beat your 154. Like that was it. Like he seems like not a great guy.
So I've never seen the exact transcript or anything, but I heard from, well, just all the memes I've seen shown is that the governor said that bowling is not eligible or is not going to be allowed because people sit around and look at their scores. So he imagines people sitting around the telescorer just looking at their scores the whole time, huddling together, breathing on each other. And I was like, no one does that. We have monitors. We stand back. We order food. We get drinks. You know, it's like you throw a shot and you go in your little space you kind of set aside at the beginning of the night. You put your phone down and you're like, this is my spot. You know, and everyone knows, all right, that's Dean's spot. Let's go to a different spot. You know, and so he imagined it like that. And I've only been political 2 times in my life. And the first time was before I went to college. And I'm sure you know about this, going to Linwood and living with me, about how I used to be a professional poker player up until I was 20. And then the USIGEA Act got put into place. It was slipped into a defense bill that banned online poker in the US. And so when that happened, the major poker market, Party Poker at the time, just blocked US customers. And that's where I made 80% of my income. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Well, if I go to Canada, which is 2 hours north, well, maybe 3, I don't know, I've never driven there, 3 hours north, or I can go to Mexico. And I was looking at like Costa Rica, Italy, all these places to move to. And then Randy Lightfoot calls me like, "Hey, Dean Richards, would like to give you a bowling scholarship." I'm like, ugh. Like, all right, whatever. Like, I just blew him off. Like, I don't want a bowling scholarship. I'm freaking making, hundreds of thousands a year. And then came down to it. I go, man, I don't want to level up. I love bowling. God damn it.
Yeah.
And so I flew out to St. Louis and I visited the campus. See, Brad, I'm talking to you guys now. So I flew out to St. Louis and I took the ACT, I took the SAT, but they need the ACT at Lindenwood. And I had a severe cold. I'm taking the ACT and I have Kleenex. I'm getting snot all over it. I'm running out of time every time because I'm blowing my nose. I'm like, oh man, I must have got like the lowest score of all time. I got like a 26 or something. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or not. And then Randy goes, oh, you only need an 18. I go, Jesus Christ, like the people at this campus. Do I want to go to this school? If you only need 18 and I didn't even finish any of the portions because I'm dying from a cold, then I don't know if I want to go here.
Yeah, I think.
Anyways,
I think
yeah.
you get like 11 points if you just write your name.
It's got to be something stupid like that. 'Cause, like I probably aced like the literature, history, English, and then the math part is when like I was really just getting snot everywhere. Like it's dripping on the calculator. It's like it's getting everywhere. I'm just like, oh my God. Like these days, that'd be like a hate crime or something. If that lady was handing out the test.
The room would clear out.
If there was a Chinese lady handing out the test and I got snot on the calculator, it's because I'm trying to kill her. And but anyways, I got like a 26. They're like, all right, man, you're eligible for this much. And I go, I'll think about it. Because I still have in the back of my head, they're like, I'm going to move to Costa Rica. Like there was this program set for poker players. This company set up in Costa Rica that moved poker players in. And it was affordable at the time for me. And I had a longtime girlfriend. And then I just, one day I just woke up. I made the choice. I go, you know what? I'm going to go to college, I guess. And I broke up with that girlfriend and said, hey, I want the college experience.
We got it.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk too much about that. We can bring it up a little bit, but yeah, we got it. And yeah, so that was my first time being political. I wore my freshman year. I remember there's a good pic of me guarding like Emil or Colt, and I have a band Bill Frisk T-shirt on. And he was the senator in Tennessee, I believe, that put the bill, snuck it into his defense bill that made it a poker legal. It just slid in, like, you know how like we have these stimulus payments, they need to go out?
Uh-huh.
It'd be like him slipping an online poker bill right in the bottom of that, and no one even, they just flip the page or whatever and sign it. That's what he did. And so I had a ban Bill Frisk. I've commented on his Facebook page all the time, like, F you. Like I still to this day just troll his Facebook page. I'm still mad at him. But so that was the first time I was political. Second time was when my business got shut down. Let's talk about that because we can go on for that for days.
Yeah.
So I think it was March. I mean, people could correct me. We might get a Facebook pop up or something, but I think it was like March 13th or 17th. It was an odd number. I feel like could have been the 15th, but online. Or no, I don't want to put words on that anymore. My pro shop got canceled, and so I went to work on Friday and Saturday for the kids, and then on Sunday I heard a rumor that we're gonna shut down. I'm like, man, this COVID thing ain't shit, I'm like, we ain't shutting down. And then on Monday I get a text from the owner like 7 a.m. like, hey, just let you know, I think we're gonna get shut down. There's a news conference at noon. I'm like, well, I'm not going into work to watch this thing live. I'm just going to hang out here. And then if it doesn't get canceled, I'll just head in immediately. And so I'm watching. I go, holy crap. Like I don't have a job anymore. What do I do? And, it was a week, 2 weeks. And then it was just constantly extended. And it kind of like kept you on the hook, where, okay, well, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay, well, all right, 2 weeks passed. All right, I'll be back in 2 weeks. And it kind of stayed like that. He never gave us a timetable. And although COVID never really gave us a timetable, we didn't know what it was going to be. Just now we have vaccines coming out, which is in record time, by the way. Like, vaccines used to take way longer.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything to do with my day. I was just like, well, what do I do? And then I started like riding bikes. I started playing online poker again with Bitcoin. You can log it, you can buy in with Bitcoin, and then they pay out in Bitcoin, and so I did that actually the entire summer. And I'll tell you what, man, when I won I didn't win a tournament. I got like fourth for like 900 or something like that. I'll tell you what, man, that was a good day. I was just like, I got fourth for 900. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. I mean, first was $3,000, but it was cool to get 900. Like, it was like, I actually got way worse over like 12 years than I thought I would be at poker. I'm not good anymore. These guys are beyond me.
Oh yeah.
I was good when I was 19, and now I'm just like a guy that deposits.
Yep.
It's weird how, like, if you don't keep up with it, how it just shifts and changes and morphs. Everyone has the technology now. Everyone's learned how to play properly.
It's so studied, man. Like, everything is so studied, and it's so easy to have access to training tools and training websites. And
oh, exactly. And there's heads up displays that show like percentages the person does this, and you're like, all right, I don't have this because I'm poor and I don't have a job right now, but I bet my opponents do. So they think I won't do this. So I'm going to do it. And then I do it, and then it backfires. I'm like, fuck, man. And so it's just, now I have a job. Like, I play poker when I get home. My fiance works the evening shift. So I get home, I have nothing to do. And so I play, and I go, hey, if I lose, no big deal. I have a job. I can just deposit. I haven't had to yet, luckily.
So that's what you're doing right now?
No, I'm working for this medical company. So let's just backtrace a little bit. So the shutdown lasted 5 months, and then we opened up. And when I opened up, it was like, bam! Everyone wanted a bowling ball. First off, all I had was old stock from March on the wall. So that shit is still sitting there today. I can't sell it. No one wants it. And but I ordered a ton of product as it came in. My distributors were nice. They like forgave me. I think I had a little bit of outstanding or whatever, and I was like, hey, like, I'm gonna need this money actually to survive. And so they forgave me and let me get, they gave me like crazy credit. And then so I bought a ton of stuff for people, and so I was like doing $1,000 days every day for like 2 weeks. It seemed like I'm like, bowling's back, I'm rich, And what happened was, before we shut down, it was down to like hardly anything. All those people that are bowling, they bought all their stuff in the beginning, and then they didn't need any more. And then there was no walk-in traffic whatsoever, because who wants to walk into an environment where you have to rent house shoes and throw a bowling ball thrown by other people during a pandemic? Nobody. There's no open play business. And so that dried up. And so when we shut down, I already have it. I got shut down, and then the next day I had a job. And so now I work for this medical company, and I work in ostomy. Basically, I deal with people that have had procedures on their stomach where they have a port basically on their stomach for their bladder or their stomach, and they have bags and whatnot. But so I deal with those people every day, and it's actually pretty rewarding because they have tough lives, and it's tough. You call people sometimes, and someone answers, and you ask for them, and they're like, "No, they passed away." You're like, "Dang, I liked that guy."
Yeah, and kind of provides some perspective, huh?
Yeah, you're like I had 1 week where I had 4 days in a row where I called someone and that person passed away, and so I started calling myself the Dean Reaper. I'm the Dean Reaper. I call someone, they're gonna die. And then I told a coworker that she actually just recently quit, but she goes, "That's so sad that people would rather die than talk to you on the phone." I said, "Wow, that is such a good burn, but it hurts."
Well, I hope I don't die. Nah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
so
stroke tomorrow.
it puts in perspective when you call these people and like, oh, I've had to close my business because the government, whatever. But I'm like, these people depend on me for their supplies just so they can have their fecal matter or their whatever come out of them just to survive.
Yeah.
Like, and when I call them, they're cheery. They're like, oh yes, I need another order, you know? And like, it's hard to imagine myself being that chipper in that situation.
Right. Yeah, I was like 2 weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago, I was just kind of thinking, like, all these people, like California's been like the bowling centers in California and Washington and probably Detroit or Michigan and just whatever states have actually locked down. Like, there are people closing, and then all of that clientele, like a lot of bowlers, are going to go do something else. They're going to find other activities to do, whatever it may be, and we're probably not going to get them back. I mean,
All the fringe people we won't get back.
no, not at all.
Like
Like,
the,
all the people
the
that were just like, I'll bowl it, whatever. I have nothing else better to do, that don't really care too much about it, but it's just something for them to drink, and they're going to go golf, like, or they're going to do something completely different than bowling. And I was like so frustrated. I was like, man, like bowling is dying. Like we've spoke about that for like a decade now. Like bowling's on the decline, membership's on the decline, bowling alleys, small business owners are having a hard time staying open, like bowling's dying. And then you have other people that are like, no way, like it's so big, it's international and whatever. Like, no, legitimately right now, bowling is dying. Like these
like
small business owners can't even stay in business.
it's crazy because like I mean I'm 34 and you're 30.
30.
30? Yeah. So since we started bowling, aspiring to be professional bowlers from the age of 10, 12, 14, whatever it was, where we were like, hey, we're good at this, you know. People have told us that like bowling is dying. You're like, it can't die. I'm just starting to get good at it. Like, you know, it's just we've been told since we're a youth that bowling was dying because back in the day, you know, the bowlers were on TV commercials. And I mean, tell Jason Belmonte bowling's dying, and he'll just like check my bank account.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he might be the only one, but yeah, he's probably the only one. But
yeah, there's probably 5 guys on the PBA tour that are making out really well, and
yeah.
that's not just from the United States. Like a lot of that is from international stuff too. So, like for example, Dom Barrett has made a lot of money bowling, but he didn't make much on U.S. soil this year. But he won the WBT Kuwait Open for 80,000, and then another one for like 50,000 over in Kuwait, and then another like. A lot of these people are making their money overseas, so there's just not it's not very
So Dom Barrett, for example, when he makes so much over there, kind of in his world, the reason he comes over here is to improve his brand. You would say because he's not making money over here. Like say he breaks even over here. I mean he makes more than that, but say he breaks even. But his brand improves and his deals get better. Is that why he does it?
Yeah, and I mean the PBA is like the best bowling association there is. For one, for two, you get to compete against the best, which is the dream. For three, your contracts that he has with whatever company he has been with tell you that you need to compete on the PBA tour because that's the biggest TV contract that we have.
It's like, hey, we're gonna pay you X, but we need you on the U.S. soil for at least like X events a year.
Every national tour player has a contract stating they have to bowl at least 75% of the events. And for a while, Dom did make a lot of money. I think this was like the first year he didn't make a ton, and he still did okay. But
yeah, he's so good.
But I mean, it's like he made what did he make? He was probably like 15th. I don't know what he was, but he probably would have been worse than 15th, and he probably made 50 grand, but he spent maybe 30 or 40 just coming over here all the time. Like,
Those flights aren't cheap.
flights aren't
John
cheap,
doesn't
man.
have a house in Oklahoma, you know.
I know,
Don't be able to look at.
and that's how the professional landscape is right now. Couple that with businesses in California dying, so all those youth bowlers who are dreaming to be a professional bowler, they can't even go out and try and keep that dream alive. So all those California bowlers are just dead. Washington, Michigan's a huge bowling state. Like, what is happening? Like, there's no way this can turn out good.
Speaking of youth events, did you happen to catch that video of the girl that spared the Greek church in the 10th? What? Okay. So, all right, I'll just break it down for you. So it's the JBT main event, the biggest winter event for youth in the country. Title match. One girl, lefty, dominated it. One girl, righty, has no look.
Where was it at?
It's in Vegas every year. I used to bowl it. You won that shit, dude.
Oh, the main event. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I forgot you won that.
I did win that.
Yeah. We used to call you Brad Main Event Miller.
5K killer.
5K killer. Yeah. Okay. So the ladies' side just happened this last weekend. And 10th frame, this girl needs a spare and a strike to tie, but she's on a strike to win. She goes up there, Greek churches. Okay. Tournament's done. She goes up there. She goes to line up for the 3. She gets off the approach. Dries off her hand. Gets a little moisture off there. Moves to the left. She's going the other way.
So she's taking this seriously.
She's going for the 610 to spare that.
Dries her hand off.
610 to spare it. She goes over there. She lines up for 610. I'm like, oh, that's brave. And then I watch her. She spoons the Greek church. The Greek church. Now that she spooned the Greek church, she has to strike on that lane. She has Greek churched on. You know what she does? 10 back. Roll off. So now it's a 1-ball roll off. She's number 1 seed because she dominated the whole tournament. And she goes, I'll go first. She goes on the other lane, of course.
Yeah.
She goes up there, 10 back, comes back. Another girl buckets. She wins. Wow. She spooned the Greek church, struck the tie, called her shot, went first. What's up?
After leading the whole event.
Yeah.
Where's she from?
I guess I saw Josie, or is it Josie? Josie Ernest share it, and she said something about Vanderbilt, so I imagine she bowls at Vanderbilt.
Okay. Wow.
You got to watch that video, man. I was just like, the composure to go up there and line up for the 3 and then step off and just kind of like shake the shoulders out a little bit, dry off the hand. You know, I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to spoon it, and then I'm going to strike, and then I'm going to strike again. And she did that. See, I've never been that confident in my life, and she did it.
That's the kind of people. Have you ever heard of a girl named Jillian Martin?
No.
She's like, no, she's youth right now. I'm assuming she's probably like 16, but when she was 14, a couple years ago at Junior Gold, it was when I was there, she asked if she could compete in the highest division because she didn't want to compete against the 15 or the 17. Maybe she was 16 and couldn't get up there. And then she leads qualifying. So she's the youngest person in the field. She's not supposed to be in that field. She asks to move up, and then she dominates. And I've only seen her bowl like a couple times. I don't know how she ended up at the end of the tournament. She might have fallen off a little bit, or maybe she made Team USA. I don't know. But I was just at Norm's house a month ago. I spent a week at Norm's place down in Orlando. And
who's Norm for those who are wondering?
Norm, mother freaking Duke.
Okay. All right. I was curious as well. Thought maybe it's the pro shop guy around the corner, Norm.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, man, you're in Washington and say anything?
And he was telling me, because he went to an SYC down there in Orlando, and he walked in and he saw this girl bowl. He goes, dude, I saw this girl bowl. And he's like, everything you need to be a great bowler. She has fast feet. Her body's in front of the swing. She comes through her balance legs down. She could play straight. She could hook it. She could do everything. And she was like 15. And I go, was her name Jillian Martin? He goes, maybe. But it's like there's just some people in the bowling industry, right? Like we all look at other sports like these Tom Brady's and Tiger Woods and stuff like that. Bowling starts out that way, right? Like every single one of us and all these people that go to college to compete and try and be at a high level, it's like when you're a kid, you are laser focused on being that guy or that girl. And then you go through college and then you eventually try and go to the PWBA. I mean, what if you're Jillian Martin right now? Like the PWBA hasn't thrown a shot in all year, you know?
Yeah.
It's like how are you actually supposed to keep that motivation to be the greatest, this icon that you want to be when, you know, like you can't.
Yeah.
Like, and for this time it's the pandemic, you know. It's not USBC's fault. They've done everything they can to provide women for a professional tour, and they've done a really good job of it, I feel like. But it's just like bowling just can't catch a break, it seems like. It's like how are these youth bowlers supposed to become that person that we need them to be if we can't provide them with that, you know, experience?
Yeah, yeah, it's just tough. I mean, I like as a pro shop operator, I think about, okay, I have a job now, and
yeah, are you going back if Washington opens up, or the bowling center?
we'll get there. So I have a job. So I have a job now that there's room for growth, and they want me to grow with it. And then I have my business, which has just been sidelined since I started this job. And I think about like, okay, who's going to come back and what's coming in? Am I able to create a new league bowler? I don't know. Can a guy come off the street and he bowls with his buddy sometimes? He'd like to get a ball because he's seen some guy to the pair next to him had a ball that curved. And so I throw him a ball, it's fingertipped, whatever, and he gets a little curve and he's like, this is awesome. You should join the league. I'm like, is that going to happen again?
I know.
Am I going to get that ever again? I go, if I can't get that, then I'm stuck with what I have, which isn't enough to begin with.
I know.
So how do you go back to that job if you can't even?
Is the bowling center?
You can't grow it. It's just gonna. They're just gonna die.
What is the bowling center? Is it gonna survive?
Let's talk about bowling centers because that was number one on my list to talk to you about. So, bowling centers had to shut down from March till the middle of August. So there's no activity whatsoever. Some places had takeout for the hardcore bowlers that like their French fries or their burger dips or whatever. I mean, you've had bowling alley food. It's not your number one thing, is it?
Not great.
Yeah, okay. But the hardcores still went there to support them. This time around, there's no food, nothing. Like the centers are shut down. There's no takeout. There's nothing. They're just collecting dust. What I've realized in the last 2 weeks is that in the last 2 weeks, I've seen 4 GoFundMe pages for bowling centers. For bowling centers. These are $1 million operations that have been shut down so harshly by our government. And on the West Coast, I mean, it's literally like you can draw a line down the West Coast to 3 states. Every single state is shut down. And I've seen 3 close in the that I know of on the West Coast. I'm sure there's many more that I don't know of, but they have GoFundMe pages. Dave Husted just sold off Kellogg Bowl, and Kellogg Bowl was the host of the Portland Masters, the most prestigious event in the Northwest, which I haven't won. Got second twice. Still, I love the event. And
it's in Washington?
That's in Portland. So it's just like southeast Portland. And so Dave Husted owns 3 centers, and he sold off one of them. And now the second one, the main one, the GOAT, the best bowling center in the Northwest, Milwaukee Bowl. I love that place. And I would drive down there and do a fundraiser for them. I love that place. Like, so many memories. They used to host a tournament when I was a youth. It was called the Northwest Masters, and it was $1,000 for first place. And I was 15 years old. My brother drove me down. We stayed at a buddy's place or something, and I got like 6 for like $100 or something like that. But then when I got better, I won it like every year. It's just and they send you a big check, like Happy Gilmore check when you win. It's awesome. And they have a GoFundMe page now. Like, and Dave and Champ Husted and Corey Husted, I mean, they're great proprietors, and they have a GoFundMe page. I'm like, this government is literally going to kill the Husteds, like, livelihood. It's insane. I don't even know how it's applicable when around the rest of the country they're bowling without masks, and we're dying out here.
I was gonna say, here in Kansas City, I live 1 block from County Line Road, which is the difference between Cass County and Jackson County. If you're a bowling center in Jackson County, you have to wear a mask for the most part at all times. I don't know what the exact rule is, but it's either you can take it down when you throw a shot, or you could have it off while you're bowling, but the second you step out of the bowler's area, you have to have it on. So if you go to the snack bar or something. And then south, Cass County, it's a recommendation. And we've bowled several tournaments at Aaron's Family Fun Center, the place in in Belton, Missouri. And we bowled Thanksgiving there. There were 120 people, and I bet you half of them weren't wearing masks. And we've probably bowled 3 or 4 different tournaments there, and we bowled a couple in Kansas. I mean, there really hasn't been a whole lot of problems. Like, it's like every time we bowl a tournament, we hear of someone the next couple of days like, oh, they had COVID. And you're like, well, I wasn't around them, thank God. Like, they were, 7 pairs down or something. But it's like there hasn't been a catastrophe happen. Like, not like this massive outbreak where one person has it and then literally everyone who bowled that tournament gets it. Like, right. We've literally been around. Like, I've bowled probably 10 tournaments where somebody has had it, and I've been in the same bowling center as them, and I haven't came down with it yet. And a lot of my friends haven't come down with it yet either. And they're not even, and half the people aren't even wearing masks. I don't even know if the people that have been positive were wearing masks. Like, thankfully, I've worn a mask the whole time pretty much, even when I throw a shot. But it's just so strange how, like, we kind of have proof down here in Missouri that, bowling centers can be open. They definitely can. Now, should you go through some guidelines and some regulations and wear a mask and stuff like that? Yeah, sure. It shouldn't be just no hold barred, but it's just unbelievable to me how I've been able to bowl all these tournaments with COVID positive competitors, and Washington and California and these states can't even bowl.
Yeah, it's not even just bowling centers though. It's that, like, I can't go to my local favorite restaurant anymore. Like, it's so many things. We're approaching 9 months of businesses being shut down. I mean, like, there's so I only moved into this house in late January, early February, and there was this Mexican restaurant down the street that had a grand opening sign. And I drive by it every day now, and that grand opening sign's still up because they got like 3 weeks of grand opening and then the shutdown. I'm just like, man, I remember that place was having their grand opening. There's no way they're in business. They probably took out too big of a loan that they can't pay now because they've had zero business.
Imagine if you're big bowling.
Dude, big bowling had a little bit of thunder. I've actually had one in my shop.
I've seen him go down the lane.
What do you think?
I feel like this is very premature, but I feel like it's similar to Motive stuff. Like, it rolls really similar to Motive stuff.
Yeah, I get that old Brunswick feel.
The old Brunswick feel. But I mean, you gotta give it to him. Like, just being able to make a bowling ball in general, like just being able to have a finished product that can go down the lane.
Just to make a bowling ball is amazing.
I know. Yeah. It's not thumped down the lane.
I've never been to a factory before. I'm sure you have. Have you been to Storm or?
I've been to Storm. I've been to both of them actually.
You've been to Hopkinsville too?
I've been to Hopkinsville, yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen the process, but I've seen the videos, and I can only assume how hard it is to make a bowling ball. And the fact that they made a round bowling ball that goes down lane, I'm like,
yeah, exactly. It's a good start, and it's not. And from what I hear, their process of making bowling balls is different than all the other companies, and they're just like a small staff. It's like Storm has this huge warehouse of people, and this like everything's just synchronized, and it just runs, and they pump millions of bowling balls out. Whereas like if you're a startup bowling ball company, you know, you're pumping one bowling ball at a time, and it's like by hand, like. So just the fact that they can even do that, I mean, you would assume that if you start out as a startup bowling ball company, your balls aren't going to be Storm bowling balls. To be like, I mean, even Brunswick can't come together and put the shapes that Storm has, and Hopkinsville out of that plant, it was hard to create the shapes that Storm was like. It takes years and years and years of figuring out substances and trial and error, and each individual factory has like its own like uniqueness to it. Like for example, Norm was telling me that he's ran a couple bowling ball companies before. One was it was like back in the 80s. He was a competitor to Storm before Storm was massive. And they came out with this ball, and he threw it once, and he said it was the best ball he's ever thrown. They started mass producing it, and then it was a turd. It couldn't get the 10 out. And he's like, once you start mass producing bowling balls, they're different than if you were just to individually make one. On top of that, if you take like all the technology that was going on in Hopkinsville, which is now transferred down to Brunswick, transfer plants, the motions that you're getting out of that plant previously are going to stay. Like it's impossible to create Hopkinsville motions down in Mexico. So all of that technology that Ebonite had, once they go down to Mexico, it's just going to roll. It's coming out of the same factory. It's going to roll like Brunswick stuff. So
but they bought the equipment and their IP, whatever. So they should be able to exactly replicate it, right? If they use the same ingredients. They bought the equipment and the IP, so they can literally just follow, like it's like baking a cake. Like, hey, do this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in Mexico. The air's different. Different. Elevation. Maybe it just cures different. It's crazy things like that can make it roll different.
I know, and based on, and I don't know much about this, but based on what Norm says, like once you start mass producing it, once it goes on that conveyor belt, like it's kind of out of your hands. Like you can individually make a ball yourself, but once you put it into the machines, then you're just not exactly sure what's going to come out.
Right. Like you got the formula perfect, and you're like, all
right.
right.
Throw in the mass production machines, and it rolls like a Brunswick ball. So
that's the last thing you want.
I know.
Like a Brunswick or college Brunswick balls. You remember how rolly they were?
I know.
Yeah, it's just like we're trying to twist the shit out of them. Our elbows flying out, trying to get some ball reaction in the back end. I mean, they're better now from what I've heard. I haven't thrown them in 5 years or something like that. But back in college, I remember like having to like throw our elbow out, try to get some back end on them.
But let's just say like Storm has the IQ. Companies were trying to make the IQ tour for years. If you're not making it in Storm's facility, you're not going to be able to replicate an IQ tour. So similar to like Big Bowling, like they have their own facility, their own way of doing things. They're a startup. They're brand new. They're figuring out all this stuff. Like it is hard to come out as a startup bowling ball company and make really quality, good bowling balls. It takes years and years of trial and error to be able to come out with something. So you're Big Bowling now. You have all this stuff. You get Rhino out there. He's gonna get a tour team together. You pay the sponsorship fee for the tour to get some players out there. You get Pontus, you get Simonelli, you get Rhino, you get Andrew Kane. You get the ball's rolling, right? Bam. They gotta. And
COVID.
I talked to Rhino like 6 months ago. He goes, I might have to move. Like, he moved to Washington about a year ago, and he's like, I don't have a job. Like, we can't even do anything. I think.
So are they done?
No,
Or?
I think they're good now. I think them being in Spokane, I think they can.
I don't think rules affect the east side of the state. I think on the east side they go, man, fuck that west side. We're gonna do whatever we want.
I know, but even I mean, I'm sure being in Washington, having a plant there, like California, would be a big clientele to yours. Like that's easy access for you to get balls into California and be able to make sales and stuff like that. And it's just like such a catastrophe, man. It's like.
Did you know that California is the 8th largest economy in the world? No, it goes like, all right, so it's like US, China, India, maybe UK or whatever. And then number 8 is California. Its state itself is number 8. That's how big that is, and it's been shut down since March.
I wonder what, like, Newsom. I wonder what he's thinking. Like, do you think that, like, in the back of their head, they're thinking that, we could probably thin the herd a little bit?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I've made a lot of bad jokes, but with real intent. I go, you know what? This COVID-19 was not strong enough because I can't handle this traffic at 4 o'clock anymore. I go, we need a stronger plague, is what I've told people. I go, this plague wasn't strong enough. We need a stronger one. We can't find a vaccine for it. There's no ventilators. I want to go home with no traffic.
That's what everyone in LA says. Like, there are just way too many people in LA.
Dude, this Tacoma, there's like this little there's like a 3-mile stretch in Tacoma that is blocked up from 2 to 6 every day. And then Seattle, it's always blocked up. Go in Seattle, you're going to be blocked up.
Man, are people getting out of Washington?
I haven't heard as much about Washington, but everyone's leaving California, as you know. Like, even tech companies are fleeing. Joe Rogan moved to Austin. He's opening a comedy club there because the store's been shut down for so long. All the comedians are moving to Austin because Joe did.
Yeah.
So Austin's the new hub. My dream was to go to LA one day and then just spend like 3 nights going to the comedy store at night and seeing like the whole lineup of comedians. And then it'd be the next night, a whole different lineup, just 3 nights in a row, and like hitting the beach during the day.
Of all your favorite people?
Yeah, I'm just like, well, now I guess it's Austin.
Yeah, I guess it is Austin.
I guess Angie lives there. I can have lunch with her or something.
Is she the only one? I hear a lot of people. There's a lot of people that live like Diana, Angie, Clara, Maria, Nathan Bohr. I don't know which cities they're living in, but they definitely live somewhere.
I think Austin's kind of like Seattle, where it's like super expensive to live in it, but they're all probably just right around it.
Yeah, so I was looking at a map actually yesterday. Austin is like just north of San Antonio, and then east is Houston, and just north is Dallas. Like, it's right in the middle of Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. That's probably why Joe moved there, is because, he had so many guests in LA. But if you're in Austin, I mean, it's only a 2-hour drive each way to 3 major cities. So there's got to be it's got to be a great spot. I'm sure it's great for bowling too. I'm sure just around that area.
So that one Facebook question you had, did you pull it up on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was just like anytime someone had a question, it would just pop up. I'm like, well, that'd be overwhelming.
No, I don't know if you can do it either. In the StreamYard, can you scroll your mouse over the comments? Are you looking at it?
Oh,
can you look at it?
There's comments. Oh, okay. And you can just drag them over?
You just click on it. What happens?
Let's see. Let's find a good one.
It should say show.
Oh, there's a lot of comments.
A lot of comments. Colt says, "Is that a Trubisky photo behind you, Dean?"
All right, so there's two things in Washington that I believe and I think everyone should believe in. For one, when you wear a baseball hat, you wear it backwards. You know why? You pay respect to the kid. If he wore his hat backwards, you wear your hat backwards. Wear it frontwards, you're disrespecting the kid. Second, you don't pray to God in Washington because no one's religious out here at all. You pray to Russ.
I know.
Russ, right there, behind me at all times.
You know, people always ask me, or I've asked a bunch, like, or I've been asked, like, who are you worried about as a Chiefs fan? Because it, like, right now, it's easy to kind of be content and not be worried about anyone.
Right.
And I look at Pittsburgh and the Browns and Ravens and Bills.
No. Oh,
and
Bills.
Packers. But there's something about Seattle that just worries me. I don't know what it is.
There's something about being the Northwest team that no one pays any respect to, and that puts just a giant boulder of a chip on their shoulder. They're like, we don't get any of the media. We're the Northwest team. No one gives a shit about us. But guess what? We're going to the Super Bowl. Like, it's what they do.
I know.
Especially with Russell. Even though he's broken right now, he's hardly moving. He looks like if me or you like twisted an ankle and are running out there. That's how bad he looks.
What's wrong with him?
He turns into a grandpa into the season.
Every year?
Every year. He's MVP front runner for like the last 4 years after 4 weeks. And then grandpa shows up and this guy can't move. He can't run away from a nose tackle.
Is it because he's getting hit too much?
Oh, Russell gets hit. He's the most sacked quarterback, I think, in the NFL. Okay. Well, maybe Sam Darnold. It might be Sam Darnold and him.
Well, then
Sam Darnold. I mean, it's a rough life. You grow up to be a professional football player, and you're like, all right, I'm going to be the number one pick. Dream come true. Jets. Career over.
I know. Oh, yeah, we got Le'Veon Bell from the Jets, and I was thinking it was going to be an issue, and they haven't used him a whole lot. But then our starting running back just got hurt, so now they're using him more. But he hasn't been a problem at all. He's just kind of going through the motions.
What's weird is I thought the same thing about Antonio Brown because he's like the third, fourth wide receiver on Tampa Bay, and you haven't heard anything about him.
I know you haven't.
He, as the number one receiver, like leading the league and everything, he's a drama queen. And then third, fourth wide receiver living with Tom Brady, he's just quiet. Like that's what he needed probably to like he'll get signed again next year because he's not causing trouble. And
the Jets end everyone's career. Imagine if you're Jay Lynn. Like, what do you do? How do you root for him? Like, as a
man, poor Justin, man.
We've had bad years, but we've never had terrible years. We've always been like 8-8, 7-9, not a very good quarterback. Whatever. We'll make the playoffs, not make it very far. But I've never seen a Chiefs that's like 1-15.
Yeah, it's funny is that like Patrick Mahomes played like the last game of his rookie season. He played the last game and it was pretty good, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you guys made the playoffs, and then Andy Reid's like, "That's our guy."
Yeah, I know.
Shut this guy out of here.
Yeah, I couldn't. Like when we drafted Mahomes. The Bears picked Trubisky over Mahomes, I'm pretty sure. And then somebody else, and then I think
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson was over Mahomes too, right?
Yeah, so it went Trubisky and then Watson, Mahomes.
I know. So, you're thinking, well, Alex Smith, he can get us to the playoffs, whatever. And then the next year when we got rid of Alex Smith, it was like, oh my gosh. And my buddy, who's a huge Chiefs fan, was like, we're going to have the best offense in the league this year. And I'm like, we've got a rookie quarterback. How could you possibly say that? Like, what you actually think that's a doable thing? And then next thing you know, we got the best offense.
Yeah, I love watching his no-look throws. He's just like looking one way and I'm just like, man, that's so cool.
He is unreal, man.
Yeah, he's like the perfect quarterback. Like if you were to make one, he's the perfect quarterback because he can move. It's not his thing, but he can. But also he can make a throw from right foot, left foot, planted. Doesn't matter.
He's humble. He's not like overly cocky. He doesn't do anything crazy. He doesn't party.
He's not a wide receiver cornerback, so he's humble. Wide receivers and cornerbacks cause all the issues.
I wonder if it's like a control thing, like because as a quarterback, you are the most relied upon person. So there's like this responsibility.
The ball gets snapped to you every single play. So you
and
make every single
play happen. You got to be jealous, right? That's why these wide receivers are crazy, because there's too much downtime. You don't have that responsibility as a quarterback, I guess.
That's what scares me about DK Metcalf. I'm like, he's so good. He dyes his hair a different color every game. I'm like, please don't turn crazy on us, man.
Okay, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I love you so much. Please don't go crazy on me. I'm like, and also Seahawks, pay that man his money because he is filthy.
Yeah,
he's like a linebacker. I don't know if there's a player like DK Metcalf ever existed before, to be honest. He's 6'4", 220 or 30 pounds, and then runs a 4.3 40. Like that, it's never existed. He's like a freak.
I know.
But I mean, you guys got Tyreek Hill, so you know what freaks are like.
And Travis Kelce, like as a tight end, he's leading the league in yards as any kind of receiver.
My fiance, she had to work fantasy football thing, but she had to do something. She goes, "Can you draft for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can draft for you." I got you. And she won her league, just saying. But I drafted George Kittle. I was on I think it was second round, and Kittle and Kelce were both like second round picks, I believe. And it was just like, God, they're both so good. They're like wide receiver picks, because they get so many catches, like especially both of them. Like Kittle broke Kelce's record last year that Kelce set the year before. Then Kelce broke it again. And so I went Kittle instead of Kelce. So that was my one mistake I made. Other than that, aced it. She won her league. She's collecting the dough, and she's happy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I was listening to – it's kind of funny that you messaged me that one day that you did, because like the day before I listened to a podcast that Chad Murphy and Mike Flanagan did, and they were just going over like the content creators in the bowling industry, and they were just going over like podcasts and who their favorite ones were and just shouting them out. And there were a lot that I didn't know. Like there's just one in New York City where these two people in the bowling center sit down and they run a podcast, and Barnes and Stewie have theirs, and the PWBA has one, the USPC has one, Flanagan had one for a while, like all these podcasts. And it kind of like motivated me. I was like, man, like there are quite a few people out there, having just conversations with people. And then you texted me that night.
It's perfect timing, I guess, huh?
I don't know if it was the night that I was like the Nagy winner, if that's why you messaged me or something. It might have been. But then you were the Facebook post was classic, because you were like, the only swing I've ever done, or the only fight I've ever been a part of. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we got to get together and talk. What was that?
So your comment was the only swing I've ever missed. I think we both just threw like air balls at each other. And then afterwards we hugged each other and cried. We're like, I love you, dude.
What was it?
Yeah, it was just dumb, just college stuff,
What was that stupid drink we were drinking? Because it was
it Get Right?
I couldn't remember the name. It was Get Right. It was a 2 liter of Sprite or Mountain Dew, and you pour a little bit out. And didn't we put like an entire fifth of vodka in there?
So what you do is, I'm not recommending this.
Do not drink this.
Do not do this. But we had some neighbors. They're African American, and they taught us this drink called Get Right, and we watched them do it, and then we're like, wow, these guys are awesome. And so we adapted it. And so what you do is don't do this, but you take a 2 liter bottle of Sprite, you pour it out to the label. And then you fill the rest with vodka. You'll probably have a little bit that much left of vodka. So you're drinking 3/4 of a fifth. And then what you do is you grab 2 packets of Kool-Aid, whatever your flavor is, shake them up a little bit, pour them right in there, shake the bottle up, let it sit for a second because it's going to explode everywhere. Then you got to get right. So that is the college hobo punch, basically.
Dumb.
So dumb. And like, I tell you what, every time I had it, I wanted to fight.
Yeah, I know. And that night specifically, we went out. I forget where we went, but we were.
I think it was Ashley's, wasn't it?
Maybe. But
I think we had get right there a couple times.
I remember I wanted to go to Maine, and which Main was Main Street, which was like the street of bars that was in St. Charles. And you didn't. You wanted to go to sleep. And somewhere or another you got irritated with me because I was probably like bugging you to go, and you were like, I'm not going. And then you tackled me. And then for some reason, like as a defense mechanism, I like kind of put my hand up near your face. It wasn't even really like a swing, but I just remember like missing. And then that was pretty much the end of it. But that's the only time I've ever like almost potentially hit somebody.
I remember it differently. I remember we were in a car going back to our apartment, and then we got out and the Dukes went up. And then we both just missed a couple times, and our friends separated us.
I'm not sure.
And then, like, one of us got walked down to RJ's. You know, he was down the street because he had a party going. One of us got walked there, and then the other one got brought later, and then we hugged it out.
Yeah, that was crazy. But that was funny that you said that, because I was just like, oh man, we gotta get on a podcast together, because there's obviously a lot going on in your life. I mean, just not having a bowling job anymore. I mean, like that just kind of shows you how the industry is. Like these pro shops can't even make it.
Yeah, I've been in the game for since I got back from school. So it was at 2014, 13.
I know.
2013. So I've been in the game since then, and I don't know. You work in a pro shop, then you're like, man, if I owned it, I would do it this way. And so I did that for like 6 months, and then I was like, I'm gonna buy one. And then I got a really good deal on like a 12-month loan, and owned a shop. And then slowly but surely, like, bought a better drill press, bought the best this, bought the best that, got 50 balls on the wall, you know.
So what? Then, so you moved back, and some guy just had you work in the shop for a little while.
Yeah, like I think I was only back like a couple weeks, and guy's like, hey, this guy, because there's this guy from our area named Scott Halverson. He's probably like locally the best bowler. I mean, if I were to say, he's probably better than me.
What's his name?
Scott Halverson.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he's probably better than me. He doesn't look like much, but he is unbeatable. Except I beat him a couple times, but I've lost to him every time in stepladder. But he was going to the World Series, and so the owner of that shop needs someone to work it. And he goes, hey, would you be willing to learn how to do it? And so I started working at this warehouse, and then after work, I'd go there, and I learned for a couple hours before they closed. I did that for a little bit, and then they had me work full-time with the World Series. I quit that job, and then once I quit that job I opened a shop. I was like, I can do this.
And then what were some of the things that you did in the shop that you really felt like kept your clientele happy? I know you did like the candy thing. Like you were like,
I always have candy.
Or something.
Dude, if I'm out of candy and people bring their kids and the kids show up, they go, where's the candy? I'm like, dude, it got cleaned out yesterday. I didn't make it to Rite Aid across the street, you know? But yeah, people kind of expect it. It's a small expense when you think about it. Like if it costs you 10 cents a customer, you know,
I know,
whatever. It's just I don't even eat any of it. It's just for them. But I would say to keep clientele happy, I don't know. No one's happy.
Well, the here's my thing with like running a pro shop, and this is like one thing that I've been hesitant about being in a pro shop, is because like there's a lot of times people will come in and like ask for your advice or want a ball drilled, and you tell them that, oh, we should do this or you should get this ball, and then like they tell you that like you're wrong, or like, no, that's not how this goes.
That doesn't happen, by
That
the
doesn't
way.
happen?
No.
Okay.
All right, so think about it. All right, Brad, you're on TV, Brad and Kyle, all that stuff. If you tell someone what they should have, what do they do?
Hey, listen.
Yeah. I never been on TV, but I have trophies. Well, I only have like a couple trophies at the shop. My mom kept most of them, but I have like regional trophies and stuff. And people know that when they talk to me, like, and I explicitly tell them, like, I'm only telling you what's best for you. This is the ball. You don't want this one. Like the High Road Pearl, I sold like 100, but that's a bad ball for a lot of people. If you have any ball speed at all, bad ball. And so to be like, hey, I want a High Road Pearl, like he talked about on Facebook, I'm like, yeah, that's not a good ball for you. It's more meant for guys like me that have no ball speed. Or when you get late in a tournament, you want to slow hook it a little bit. I'm like, you never do that. So what you need is this RSX1. Is that
RS,
new ball?
RSTX1, I think it is.
It's something like that. I don't have any clue of the new stuff. I've been out of the game for 2 months. But yeah, I'd be like, you need like this high-end ball that's actually going to pick up, because you throw the ball 20. So
is it heartbreaking when you sell somebody a ball and you tell them it's like supposed to do one thing and then they hate it?
It's heartbreaking to drill someone a ball. Well, it happens more with the used balls. I'll say that. It doesn't happen in new balls very often because they're so good. And then you can only fuck it up, really, when you get a new ball, because they're so good. And so you go out there and you watch them throw it, and then they're like, and you see it do a thing, and you're like, okay. And then like you walk away like, shit. But on used balls, sometimes you're like, yeah, I only had one owner. Then you drill from like their other stuff or something, and it does nothing. You're like, God, did I resurface that bad? Should I have laid it out different? And you just feel bad selling someone a $100 used ball. It doesn't move an ounce.
I know. Well, for me, it's like I've got my, let's say I own a pro shop right now and I was working in it. I've got my like 6, 7, 8 ball staple that I use personally.
What are those?
All the high rows, which I didn't really, God, it's like I went back and forth. Like I used the High Road X for the longest time. And I guess that was just for tour because we use Brunswick oil on tour and it's so thick that the strong cover on the High Road X works better. And I didn't even like it until my ball rep told me to throw it, and I did, and it actually worked. And I started throwing it, and I didn't throw the High Road or the High Road Pearl until this past Virginia trip where I drilled both of them, and then I ended up throwing both of them on the show. And I've drilled a High Road Pearl before at the Players this year, and I drilled it under the middle finger, and it I think it was the one that was under the middle finger. It rolled over my thumb hole. It didn't flare at all. Like it was a dud. And so I was like, I hate this High Road Pearl. Like that's never happened to me before. And so I didn't drill another one.
You probably got a bad one. And secondly, you don't drill a High Road pin down ever.
I know.
If you want to throw a pin down ball, grab something else. High Roads, pin up.
I know.
Just don't even bother. If you're like, oh man, I wish I had a High Road Pearl that was a little bit earlier, fuck it, throw a different ball every time.
Okay, so I also had another High Road Pearl that was drilled as strong as the maximum flare you could drill it. And I'm throwing it at the Players this year. And I'm making a run, dude. With 2 games left at the Players, I shoot 260 or something against somebody to get to 6th, and I'm only 6 pins out of the show with 2 games left. And I've never made a major show before. I've never, other than Oklahoma. And I'm throwing this ball, and it's flaring so much that it's going to the side of the ball, and then there's flare rings under my thumb. So it's like, and I'm telling
the old 3 3/8 right there.
And I'm telling Kyle, like, I do not want to throw this ball. And he goes, dude, you just shot 260 with it. I'm like, I know. but I don't even know if I can hit flush. Like all my strikes were like light and off hits and like super plaque 10, but then it just randomly falls and it's just like it looks like I'm
I
in
know that
throwing
exact reaction you're talking about, and you want to get away from it every time.
but I shoot 260 and I can't get away from it. So those are my two experiences of the High Road Pearl, and then I drill one normal, pin down, and then I end up throwing it on the show and on the Chameleon. It was so good. It was beautiful.
See, I drilled. Okay, I'll tell you my experience. I've drilled probably 10 High Road Pearls by now. Like I throw them for like 3 months, and even right now the pandemic hit from March to August. I drilled one fresh in March or February, and then when the pandemic hit, I'm like, that's an old High Road. Drilled a fresh one for August. Same layout exactly. I have the exact dimensions, exactly how I want it. That ball is just whatever. I drilled one pin down once, and I hated it so much. It was it was in my car, and I went to a distributor. Luckily, there's only one West Coast distributor for Classic, and it's in Auburn, and I live 10 minutes from it. And so I went there, and to open the door, because I had multiple packages to carry out, I grabbed my High Road Pearl and threw it in a ball box and left the door open. They hold the door open, and I left it. And I just went, fuck it, that ball sucked. And I just never went back for it. Dude, like, it just didn't care. I go, no, that ball sucked. I wasn't going to use it.
But see, this is my problem about like running a pro shop is like for example, I've only drilled one trend, and I watched Frankie shoot 300 with it on television. I've seen a lot of people have success with it, but the one trend that I drilled, I hate.
How'd you drill it?
The pin was a little taller. It was probably a couple inches above my fingers, and then the CG was like right by my ring finger, so it was like a tall pin. I don't know exactly.
That's a good layout. Not for that ball though.
It was way too quick.
Say you're drilling like an all road. That's my favorite layout for an all road. Is like almost have that drill out the CG, man. Just makes that thing just hum perfectly. But I drilled my trend pin down, and it kind of just like blends the cover with that core perfectly. Like they just meet there.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, drill one. I don't know your PAP or anything, but like I would say like pin under bridge, CG out, no hole.
But, I drilled that. I didn't like it, and it's hard for me, like, because as a staffer, you're on Storm staff.
Yeah,
it's hard to say that's not a good ball. At least Storm doesn't want you to. But what's a good ball to me isn't necessarily a good ball to someone else. Like, for example, I like the all road, but when I threw it at a regional in Oklahoma several months ago, it was on a short pattern. Stu Williams and Frankie and all these guys were like, no, like, what are you doing throwing an all road? Like, nobody throws the all road. And I'm like, I like it. Like, it ain't bad. It's,
it's all about the layout too. Like, I basically drilled my CG out, and that thing just spins like this, like crazy. And then it hits that spot and just rolls straight. And it's perfect. Anytime you have friction, that's a good ball.
I know, but there's also just duds, I think. Like sometimes you just get the ball and it's terrible.
I'd say, okay, well, let's be careful here. I would say most high-end balls don't respond well for me because I throw the ball 16 miles per hour, 400 rev rate, 400-ish, and like a heavy standard asymmetrical ball is going to roll like dog shit on me unless I hit 47 feet.
Has that always been the case?
Yeah.
Or just lately?
Well, Brad, I'd say last 5 years. Like when I came home from college, I randomly had a spurt of a lot of ball speed and I was wrecking everything, but that ball speed's gone. I don't know where it went. Okay. Probably the lakes.
Because, I mean, I feel that's kind of the same for a lot of people, but also Storm's strong asymmetric balls the past like couple of years haven't been necessarily as good as, let's say, like a Sherlock that was successful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll agree. Like the Crux Prime might be.
It's
It might be the worst ball I've ever thrown.
See, so this is like the stuff that, like, as a pro shop owner, I feel you need to like be able to say, and it's good for your audience to know, like, oh wait, this Crux Prime is a very specific type of bowling ball, that it's not your Sherlock. You know, it's like it's the Sherlock you can throw on a lot of different stuff. The Crux Prime you can't. It's a extremely specific bowling ball.
Yeah, the thing that sucked about the Crux Prime is that like I pre-sold like 5 of them, and then I had one on the wall, and then I drilled one because I ordered one from Storm, and I went, oh man, this is why do people say the Crux is good? Because like I joined like the like late, like I joined after the Alpha Crux and all that stuff, so I've only been part maybe 4 years, whatever. But I threw that Alpha or that Crux, and I went, wow, this is terrible. And I got one on the wall. I'm like, the only way I'll sell this ball to somebody is if they throw it really hard and play the track. I'm like, anyone who likes a bend lane at all, they will not get that ball because they will hate it. And sure enough, we got a guy that hammered it up to like 10, and he got it and he loves it. But it's for that person. It's not for me and you.
Right.
Unless we're bowling on Wolf or something, trying to open up the lane.
That's what I was going to say. Like, a ball like a Crux Prime, it's actually dynamite on short patterns.
Exactly.
But how often does your clientele bowl on short patterns?
But when I first joined Storm, the No Rules Pearl was my first ball I drilled, and Timeless. And then the No Rules Exist came out afterwards, and ball was crap. But I bowled on a short pattern, let it. Throwing the No Rules Exist, was banging that thing off the gutter. I'm just like, all right, it's weird that it's a $260 ball, but it's only good on short patterns. Like, I can't sell that to people.
I know. That's funny. Those two balls are fairly like similar. The Crux Prime and the No Rules Exist. Like, they roll out so much, man. Like, it's like
you see it, they lose energy like after your fingers leave the ball. Like, you just see it losing energy.
And that makes me wonder. It's like, for that spec cover that they put on the Crux Prime, they were trying something new. And I mentioned in a video before that, like, with USBC and the absorption rate and the new oils and all this stuff, like, Storm is constantly like innovating and trying new things. So the spec cover absorbs less oil. And so what happens is you throw a shot and it comes back, it's got a lot of oil on it, because it doesn't absorb oil, and so you got to wipe it off. And there was just something about the spec cover that just didn't necessarily finish. It didn't go through the pin very well.
Yeah, spec cover can just be retired.
I mean, yeah, they put it on the what's that blue Belmo ball? The
Promotion.
Promotion.
I sold a ton of those, and I felt bad when everyone said their ball didn't hook anymore.
Dude,
it's not supposed to absorb oil, but it's also not curving anymore. I was baking them for free, trying to get them to curve. I'm sanding them. I go, all right, so not every advancement in technology is going to work, so just bear with us, but we do make some really good stuff.
Right. And kudos to them just being on the forefront and trying new things. But it's like, some bowling balls just aren't for the average Joe kind of guy. Like, I threw the Promotion on Wolf, and I've thrown the Crux Prime on Wolf, and that was, those are pretty much the only two conditions that you can really kind of throw them. And the thing is, from my lens, I see the Tour, which is super thick oil, and certain balls just roll really good out there and certain balls just don't. And like, a lot of guys out there still throw Alpha Cruxes. Like, Frankie throws an Alpha Crux. I think Belmo's got one. There's probably like 4 or 5 Alpha Cruxes still out in Tour, which is nuts to me. But anyway, so the balls, my balls that are my staple. So the High Roads, the Phase 2, the Idol Pearl, the Idol. And then,
have you thrown the new Idol?
No.
What's it called?
Idol Fusion.
You haven't thrown it yet?
Is it the Idol Fusion? I have not.
I don't know either, because I've been closed down. So there's also the RSX T1 thing. Have you thrown that?
No, but Frankie tells me it's the best bowling ball ever made. I'm like, okay.
Don't trust Frankie, man. No one throws it like him.
Dude,
he sees weird angles that no one else sees.
You know what it is like when you go out on when anyone goes out on tour, you are all of a sudden around a idle synergy. You are all of a sudden around a very unique group of people that is more than likely a very high rev rate. So it makes you think that like you're watching people have this pocket, like Belmo's pocket is massive, and you're watching these pins fly around. Whoa. It
Right.
makes you it's almost impossible to just if you're a low rev guy to just stick to your game. And Frankie sticks to his game. Like
I know, it's
it's
amazing.
almost like Barnes can't even get away with it anymore. Like in terms of accuracy and just shot making and lane play and ball choice and all the things Barnes knows down to the lane. He's got notes on every lane that we've a center we've bowled at for the past decade. And it's almost he can't get away with playing straight. And somehow Frankie gets away with it. It's amazing. It
Yeah.
is insane. But
So is Frankie the new Barnes?
feels like it.
Because
I mean,
he's
he's
just
the
kind
only,
of finessing when everyone else is just ripping.
yeah, you can't beat him on a Kegel machine pattern. You can't beat him at the U.S. Open. Yeah, it is kind of
Frankie Kegel.
it's like he plays farther right than everyone, but he has this little loop in his ball motion. Kind of gets
Yeah.
around it a little bit, but his ball never reads the front part of the lane, so somehow he can just stay right. He keeps his balance every shot. He doesn't play into the power game. But in my head, it's like if you're in the middle, which I am, a lot of people are, majority of the people are going to be in the
Yeah.
middle, if you're one-handed, especially.
Yeah.
You try and find ways to increase your power and rev rate, and but he doesn't. And he's the only one that can do it. It's really amazing. And then when it's his, like let's say we're bowling on something where shot making and touch is everything, like the U.S. Open, it's like he's the Belmo, you know?
It is kind of weird watching Frankie. It's like off his hand. It's almost like the ball like delays its spinning.
Yeah.
It's like he throws it and like delays its spinning and then just.
I guess Bill O'Neill plays straight pretty good too. But
is Bill the best bowler in the world right now, or is it Belmo?
I mean, it's Belmo, but like in my opinion, like the way Bill O'Neill plays the lanes, the way Belmo plays the lanes is very similar on everything. It's like he's got this slow wheel down, and we bowl on super thick oil that he kind of does the same thing every tournament. It's like every major's 40 feet. He gets farther left than everyone, and he outhooks everyone. And he'll make minor changes here and there from like the fresh and whatever, and he'll throw urethane, and he's got tricks. But there's this one specific style where he's unbelievable, and almost every major and almost every tournament gets to that point. Bill O'Neill, on the other hand, it's like he'll rely a lot more on shot making. He'll rely a lot more on like being to the right, but also like playing this very finesse game that he's amazing at. Like if you watch Bill O'Neill on TV, he's always playing straight.
Yeah.
Always. Like, and he'll tell you like that's how I'm going to win. He goes, for some reason on television, the lane's always playing away to where if you square up a little bit, you can get the dub. And he ended up winning the playoffs this year and playing straight. And he's won a lot of his shows playing straight. And he's got that. But he's also got this like crazy, slow it down, hook it a million, super tilty release where he can get in with the best of them, including Belmo in there as well. And to me, like that's so impressive. Like just because there's no one else in the field that's doing that, you know, like besides Frankie and Barnes and but Bill O'Neill has been better than all of those people. If you look at like probably the top three bowlers in the past couple of years, it's him, EJ, and Belmo. Bill, EJ, and
for sure,
and
absolutely.
Simo's in like his own league. Belmo's in his own.
There's kind of like trying to
EJ's
creep in there,
league. And then there's Bill, and it's like he completely does it his own way. And to me, there's so much. I respect that so much. It's like and it's not the way that's working. It's not what Simo and Belmo do. It's just Bill's way. And yeah, I don't know. If you put the whole spectrum in play, like we bowl on a lot of 39-foot patterns, which is good luck beating Belmo on 39 feet.
Yeah, you can't beat them.
I can't believe like all these majors are on 39 feet, all of them, dude. Like, I mean, he's won 15 majors, and I bet you 12 of them are between 39 and 41 feet. Like, why are we not having majors like 45 and 32 feet? But if we were to bowl on 32 feet and 35 feet more often, Bill O'Neill would be
probably
that guy
all time.
I mean, close. He impresses me so much with the amount of things that he can do. It's amazing.
Yeah, Bill's so good. Yeah, have you ever bowled pot games on strip lanes?
No.
Okay, so you remember when inside bowling first started?
Yes.
Like Flanagan used to work the desk, I think, at what was the name that center? Crest or something?
Yep, Crest Bowl.
Yeah. So he started inside bowling, and we started live streaming pod games. One time O'Grady was driving through, I don't know, maybe he had a lady there, or maybe he had a tournament there. I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
And so he challenged everyone to $50 a game on strips. And I said, never bowl on them? Let's give it a shot. And
you mean stripped lanes, completely no oil?
Stripped lanes that are zero oil.
Okay, gotcha.
Zero oil. And so you have to find a way to get your ball to finish as it's dead hitting the pins. I'll tell you what, that was like, you know how like bowling becomes routine for us? That was like fun. You're like, how do I make this ball? Like, do I just give it a little?
Yeah.
Did I give that a little ring at the end? Like, because if you hit it at all, left gutter. So if like you gotta release it, but then you also gotta like.
Yeah, you gotta.
Until it gets out the, you 5, 8, 10 a lot.
I don't even know how.
Bend your angles, it's a lot of fun. And like I guess in the Northeast, like if someone calls you a chump, you say, bowl me on the strips. And then you beat me on the strips. All right, I'm a chump.
Have you ever been? So did you bowl them for 50 a game?
You think I lost? I bowled one game and I was out. But I did throw a couple. I did throw a double, but like I can't remember. It wasn't O'Grady who won. It was someone else. I think that won. But it was really cool. I was just like, man, just like I've never bowled in lane where my ball hits the lane. Like we threw some practice shots and it was just left gutter, left gutter, left gutter. I'm like, all right, well, try to like tape this thing back a little bit. I've never thrown a shot on a strip lane before, and so you have to like throw your polyester, and then like you need plastic for that. That way, when you do actually flick it a little bit, it doesn't instantly react. So polyester helps it like delay the.
That's interesting because when I talk to Norm about this kind of stuff, he's like, two-handed is nothing new. We were doing two-handed back in the 80s and 90s. You just couldn't, because the way the oil patterns were back then, it was so light oil, and they were bowling on strips, meaning like it wasn't there was like certain sections with no oil, certain sections with oil, certain sections with no oil. And you had to play up the boards, and you had to have a lower rev rate. It was a total accuracy game. And we could we never bowl on stuff like that ever. Like it's
weird the stuff they bowled on in the late 90s and 90s and then a little bit of 2000s, not much compared to what we've bowled on, where we've just been getting patterns, and that's what it is. We're like, I remember like hearing stories about the high roller, like, yeah, they put out strips patterns. So like there's oil here and there's oil here. And if you figure it out, you're gonna do well. If not, then you're gonna suck. I'm like, dude, that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
I'm like, how cool would that be?
We actually bowled on a strip pattern. Sean Rash ran his event in Aurora. It was the summer swing we did there. And it was like 4 years ago, and it was 3 different patterns, and the last pattern was strips. And it was crazy. It really was, man. Like just certain sections of the lane didn't have oil and the others did, and you end up kind of playing out to the right. And Prather bowled really well, and you kind of just end up fluffing it out to the right. And
slow fluff.
Simonelli ended up winning.
Of course.
I think if we were to bowl on more strips, the left would probably see a little bit more success but I mean, or at least the certain different lefties, like the only lefties you're seeing have success right now are Buttriff and Jesper. Well, how good would they bowl if, you have to keep your ball on line? There's other lefties out there like Graham Fa and,
Graham's good.
Like the higher ball speed guys.
How weird would it be? Like, 'cause back in the day, they had basically like a 40-something week schedule. And so like some weeks were like, all right, this is the lefty house. I'm going home for a week.
Yeah.
Yes. Lefties won this the last 6 years. I'm going home. Like, how cool would it be is like, all right, we have 40 weeks. Like, this is the strips house. Lefties win. And let the rookies go for it. I'm going home, Jacksonville to see my family.
The one thing I realized hanging out with Norm for that week was he has bowled so much, dude. Like,
he's covered almost the entire generation of bowling competitively, almost
anything you can do in bowling, he has done.
He's done it.
120 at majors on television. He has shot 280 in a title match and lost after leading the field by 500. Because Goebel shot 297, I believe, and Norm had him by like 600 pins going into that, and shot 280 and lost the tournament. And he's won majors, he's won back-to-back tournaments, dude. He's literally done everything, and I get so jealous because there were so many tournaments back then. Like, there was 16 weeks on break. 16 weeks in the fall.
All right, keep talking. I'm getting water.
Okay,
I can hear you.
But I don't have a whole lot of money, but I would give up every dollar I have to be able to bowl 32 weeks. 32 weeks and a different center, a different tournament, each one. Like, none of this World Series. I mean, we can bowl the World Series, that's fine. But, like, in order to have your own separate tournament, 32 different times, and then you turn around the next year and you kind of do it all over again, right? So all those notes that Barnes takes and all this stuff,
they actually matter.
You return back to those centers. And each center has its own topography, so certain things work. So sometimes lefties just have it, and you don't show up to that one, but you can not show up because you need a break at some point. So you can manage your schedule. Like, that kind of tour would be. I mean, I'd give my life for that kind of tour.
Could you imagine, like, you know how like the Bradley Open is like some stupid long, right, and tough in Kentucky?
Yeah.
So, like, all right, lefties, just stay the fuck away. Like, you have no chance. So the lefties, they go home, they go see their families, whatever. But then the next weekend, they're in Charlottesville or something. And then it's like, oh, it's a lefty fest. And so it's like, just imagine, like, it wasn't all controlled by the PBA. Like, it was just a bunch of these tournaments, but they all paid like the PBA. So it's like, hey, you guys do your thing. So, like, the Inside Bowling Open, they have their super long pattern, but also the gutter kind of hooks. It's just like, it's just one of those things, like, if all those like iconic tournaments were a PBA stop, and they're all just different in their unique way because they know their lane beds.
Well, that was
they know their lane beds better than us, and so they put out these tournaments.
Well, unfortunately, I think we're going in the opposite direction, to be honest, because AMF now, or Bolero, took over. And I don't know, they've got like 100 centers or 300 centers, whatever it is, 1 million centers. And in a time like this, we're probably just going to go to these AMF centers. We're not going to be
Yeah, I get it. But we do need to adopt like I mean, I'm sure you guys have all talked about this. How we need what's the word I'm looking for? We
I
need
don't know.
something different. What's
different. Like, we could use a lot of stuff different, to be honest. What's the word?
I'm talking about the lane patterns. Like, we need like a
variety.
Variety. God damn
Gotcha.
it. Yeah, we need a variety where like you just show up. It's like, oh, it's 41 feet. All right, good luck beating Belmo in the title match. You know, it's just like we just like, okay, that's that week. But next week, guess what? Oh, 47. All right, good luck beating Belmo in the title match. You know, just stuff like that. You know, like maybe Jake Peters, Jake Peters got a lower rev rate than me by probably 100 RPMs, and he won on Badger.
52 feet, dude.
52 feet. Jake Peters hooked the ball.
This much.
I'm close right here.
I know.
That much. He hooked the ball that much and struck to win. And I'm like, okay, we need stuff like that. We can't do the same thing. I mean, of course, Belmo's our tiger, and we know it. We want to promote him.
And he would get there. And honestly,
he'll win it. He'll probably still win everything. But like, give us other bowlers a chance where it's not the same people cater to every week.
Yeah, and it would also give Belmo a challenge too, right? Like if we're bowling on 32 feet and he's throwing, a couple gutters because he's not as comfortable and he can't throw reactive. That's the thing. Like
that's for sure.
The shorter you make the pattern, the higher the rev you have, it's not necessarily an advantage. So you have to like pick spots and get your pins where you can and figure out different layouts and stuff like that. It would challenge him. When you watch him bowl now, like at the World Championship this year when he ran down EJ.
Yeah.
EJ bowled as good as you possibly could. And Belmo ran him down. Belmo averaged 262 his last 8 games of match play to run down EJ for the top seed. And then I remember that. Yeah. And it's the pattern was one of the highest scoring patterns we bowled on. Bill O'Neill told me the only pattern more was like the TOC a long time ago, but like 5 years ago. But yeah, if we have stuff on like 32 feet and they've done the 50 feet thing, I guess, but maybe even strips and just the different ways you can shape the patterns and yeah, variety would go a long way. But also a variety in bowling centers too. Like what if we had one on wood? What if we went to wood one week? How crazy would that be?
Man, that'd be crazy. So the talk about that is like, yeah, because bowlers are skilled in so many ways. Like, look at the Travers.
Now I'm going to go.
Have they won? Brad's gone. Hey, guys. If you want to follow me, I'm Dean Richards on Facebook. And Richards Dean on Instagram.
Plug everything you can.
Much on Instagram, but you can go there and I'll like watch your videos or something because I'd never post.
The brothers.
I follow comedians mostly. Anyways, I was talking about so bowlers are skilled in many ways. Like we all know that guy that on short, he's gonna make the step ladder.
Yeah.
Like say you go to a tournament and they're like, oh, it's 34 feet. You're like, Eric made the step ladder. Okay. And you're like, all right, well, I'm kind of good at everything, but not great on me. Like I'm kind of that like master of the jack of all trades kind of guy. Where I'm not good at anything, but like I can kind of make it on most stuff.
That's me.
And so like it kind of sucks being there because I'm not good at anything. But I'm like, oh, I'll probably make step ladder, qualify fourth. I'll probably qualify fourth. And but like be cool if like the PBA did stuff like that where it's like short. The super long guys, like maybe Jake Peters is randomly super good at long. Because I remember at Team USA trials in like 2008, 2009. I don't know. I led that shit by a mile because I was really good at playing long patterns back then. I was lofting the ball like halfway down lane, and it barely just crossed the right side of the head pin and then turn over. I led Team USA trials, got a $500 check for it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like imagine like a guy like Nathan Bohr who's really good at playing.
Dude, Nathan, such a touch player, so skilled.
But I wonder, it's like I don't think the PBA sees any value in those kind of guys because the vibe I get is like power, right? Like you want the top guys on the PBA tour to look untouchable and to be like Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson, and Rory McIlroy. And it kind of shows because when you look at the ball speeds on the television shows, it's like when I throw it, it says like 18.4. And I've never thrown a ball 18 miles an hour in my life. Ever. I can't get there on a spare shot. But
what's funny is that people come into my shop, tell me about your ball speed and other people's ball speeds. I go, just so you know, I also bowled with Brad, and he's never thrown 18.4 at a 10 pin.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it can't be good for the sport that you're showing these incorrect ball speeds because when
it can't. It needs to be like for real because
exactly
people are coming in my shop and they're recounting what they saw.
I know.
They're like, so Norm Duke had 420 rev rate. I go, Norm Duke has never touched my rev rate his entire life.
And he'll tell you that.
Yeah, but he is the most probably accurate bowler of all time, but he's never had the talent for my rev rate. His wrist just didn't have it. And so I go, but I mean, props to the PBA if we give him 420.
Yeah, and like imagine golf, you watch Phil Mickelson have a swing and they're putting up numbers that aren't actually what it is or what you could get back at home. And then so it just like you can try all you want to get a 190 mile per hour ball speed or whatever is the correct ball speed, but it's just not doable. It's not correct. That's not the shot that they actually hit. Like there's no real honor in showing numbers that your audience that isn't correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
You're not like impressing anyone, and you're not gonna gain a sponsor. You're not gonna get anyone involved in the game. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be a profitable business if it's not the accurate numbers that your audience needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
do you know what your rev rate actually is?
No. Do
you want to know?
No.
I like those PBA numbers.
I'm sure it's lower than
those PBA numbers are pretty good. So I actually know. So I went to back when I was with Brunswick, like in 2015 or 14. I went to Brunswick Pro Camp, and even though I wasn't pro, luckily I knew the right people. I got to rub elbows with Walter Ray and Parker Bone and Carmen, all those guys, and my rev rate was consistently 390-ish. And then when I wanted jack on it, is 420. So like if I just all right, I'm in front of the ball return, I'm hitting it, it's 420. But it was 390 on a normal shot. You don't know what yours is?
What?
Okay. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. It doesn't affect anything you do, but it's kind of.
But mine's probably
like when you see Norm Duke at 420, and you're like, I hit 420 in front of the ball return, lofting it as hard as I could, and getting everything on it.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, how does Norm Duke have more revs than me?
I mean, I'm dude. Norm Duke's revs are so low, man. Not to hate. I mean, the guy is like 57, but
no, he's in the twos. But they gave him 420.
I know. I don't get that. I don't understand the mentality behind.
They need to stress. Oh, it's getting kind of dark out here. They need to stress how accurate he is and not his rev rate. Like, Norm is not more athletic. He's not this than say you or Chris Prather, but he can throw the ball at 270 revs and hit a dime down the lane.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to make that prevalent and not his rev rate prevalent.
Yeah, and I think the number that they show on television, I think is like the ball speed as soon as it comes off your hand or something. But obviously it slows down as it goes down the lane. So
Yeah, of course.
the speed
Once it gets through the first 20 feet or whatever, it starts slowing down.
Yeah, and the machines and the scoring systems that show you your ball speed, or if you were to track your own ball speed, like the old school way of like a stopwatch and just whatever, they wouldn't add up. And I think it'd be more important to make sure that your audience has an actual factual number that they could come off with instead of like, because if I was a youth bowler right now and I saw everyone throwing it, like if I saw me throwing it 18 mile an hour, I'd be like, I have to throw at 18 mile an hour. These guys on television are throwing at 18 mile an hour. Like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's not good for the people watching. Dude,
like my ball speed is like 14. And if I'm humming it, I'll get it to 15. Like, I'm not even close to 18.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, it doesn't, you can throw it. That's what I tell all my students. Like, almost everybody I work with overthrows the ball. Like an amateur bowler, it's like their follow through is forced. Like everything about like their mindset is throwing it harder than what they need to because they want power. And that's just not the game. It's like when Belmo's killing, I don't even know how fast he's throwing it, but it can't be more than 16 mile an hour because the guy's hooking the entire lane.
Do you remember when Belmo first came on tour?
No, but I think he threw
the year I bowled a high roller in like 2008 was the year Belmo left amateur status and went on tour. So everyone would just tell me about Belmo and how good he was, and I'm like, they're like, thank God Belmo's not here anymore. And I actually had a pretty good year at the high roller and the Mega Bucks events. I was bankrolled by Bobby Pointer. You remember him, right?
Good old Bobby. I've seen him.
Good old Bobby. Yeah, I was bankrolled by Bobby Pointer to bowl the high roller because he's done it in the past and it's worked out. He actually bankrolled the guy into winning like $280,000 event back in the day.
Johnny Lay.
Yeah, Johnny Lay. That's right. I couldn't remember the name, but Johnny Lay. Yeah, he won like 200,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so damn, I was going somewhere.
We were talking about ball speed, 14, 15 mile an hour. You bowled.
Yeah, anyways, I bowled that year at the high roller and first year ever. And I realized like, okay, I have like a set budget what I can spend. And I qualified the first squad. They had like 2-game qualifiers that year. And I qualified the first squad I bowled, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then I watched the second squad, and the guys were like lofting the gutter. And I went, and you can qualify as many times as you want and get the 1K cash. I went, oh, this is my wheelhouse. And so I spent the whole week entering the very last squad, and I just cashed every single night in front of the ball return. And one night I shot 300, which paid out $1,000 right away. And then the next game I had front 9, his 2-game qualifier. And then I was so nervous I fucking yanked it a mile and 4-pin. But it's just like, oh man, it's hard to believe that amateur bowling doesn't even exist anymore. Like that's not a thing. Like I was like, I think I might just be an amateur bowler like Tim Mack. Like I was like, I might never go pro. I'll just hit up these Vegas events, at these events, travel the world. And then that just disappeared.
I know, man. I mean, even back, we did an interview with Brad Angelo one time, and he was talking about like Barnes and Brad Angelo and like that whole group of age guys. They didn't want to go on tour. They were making enough money in the Mega Buck stuff that going on tour was actually, it was harder competition and about the same money.
Yeah, they had to face me instead of facing
Pete Weber.
Yeah, Pete Weber,
and Norm Duke.
U.S. Open, And I granted every year, Pete won the U.S. Open in the 2000s, 2010 plus. I was there. He beat me.
I remember that.
I tried like every year, and you even went one year to the Masters.
It was that year.
U.S. Open?
Yeah, it was at Carolier. You cashed.
You were there for the infamous West gutter ball that took out my lane? Cole was there.
Which explain it?
So what happened was I went up there, and I was about to bowl, and then 2 pairs away, West was bowling, and I took like 1 step. As I took 1 step, West's thumb hung up on a 710 because he left a 710 or something. Something he's going to throw really hard at, and he rots into something a little too hard, and the ball went straight up in the air, and it went like halfway down the lane, and it crashed, and it just splintered like the middle of the lane.
I remember this.
Parts went flying everywhere.
What
happened? There's a brief pause, and also I needed like to punch out to make the cut.
Well, I remember you
pause. I did not punch out to make the cut.
Didn't you 5'7"?
Huh?
What'd you leave?
Oh, I 5'7"'d, and he laughed at me. I said, "Fuck you, man!" Like I didn't laugh at your fucking thumb hang up. I mean, actually, I did laugh at his thumb.
I remember
but he did he had to pull off the approach and laugh because he knew. Like he's like the score was up there, like right above my name. I was just trying to catch a check, and then I had to strike to win, or strike to get a check, and I 5'7". Did I spare it?
You might have spared it. You got a check though. Didn't you?
No, I didn't. My first national check was actually this last year's Masters, where your boy.
Oh yeah.
Your boy just ran me over. And unfortunately, someone took video of that and uploaded it to YouTube, and it's got like 50,000 views.
Oh, who did that?
His name's Tim. And I won't take down the video because the comments are ruthless. They're like, who let this amateur in? Like, it's just like all these cool comments.
That's the internet, man.
Dude, it's so good. Like the comments are like, "That's what happens when House Bowler tries to challenge Norm Duke." I'm just like, it's just ruthless comments for days. And God, man, there's some of them that are just so like that one's just rude and it hurts my feelings a little bit. But there's some that are like kind of funny, and you just have to embrace it because you're like, that happened. Norm Duke's way better than me.
Well, that's good. That's good. You're bowling in Arizona coming up.
Yes, I just talked to. I got messages from her now. So I haven't had access to my bowling equipment because I left it all in the bowling center. And so I've been trying to get a hold of my bowling center, as well as contacting owners of other bowling centers and trying to find out who the shadiest ones are and who will let me in.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I got a couple leads on some shady bowling centers that'll let me in practice. They'll lay out any pattern I want. I go, I don't need a pattern. I can read ball reaction, type of thing. I'll just put out some oil. That's all I need. Just some oil. I'm just going through the motions now. I got Thursday and Friday crisp up. I'm probably going to ship my new shipment to Greg or whoever runs Virtue Bowling, and then have them just bring them to me and say, hey, don't fuck up this IT.
Damn, imagine you gotta pay $500 and you can't even really practice.
Yeah, but it's a once in a lifetime event, right? When has a regional player in our era?
Yeah,
because there was the regional players thing back in the day. But when has a regional player like myself had a chance to, really showcase his skills?
I know. It's a good opportunity.
So maybe I suck. Maybe I bowl well, but
maybe bowl well.
I expect to be more in the middle.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to fly to Utah on Sunday.
This Sunday?
Yeah. Well, get this. I dropped some balls off at a pro shop last week, and I picked them up Monday, and then he calls me that night. I hung out with him for an hour, and he calls me that night, and he says he has COVID. So I went and got tested Tuesday morning. We both wore masks, everything. But I went and got tested Tuesday morning. It's negative. And now I'm waiting. I'm getting tested tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And if I pass, if I'm negative, I'm getting on the flight to Utah. But it's like, so I've been stuck in my room for 5 days now. I literally haven't left my basement because I live with my parents. So it's like, it's really kind of a dangerous thing for me because I live with my parents. So if I get it and I happen to somehow give it to my mom or dad, you don't know what would happen. So I've literally just been locked into my room for 5 days.
I actually I undersold what I did earlier. My mom actually manages the place, so I got the job. She actually runs the show, so. But it was the CEO who called her and said, "Hey, give him a job."
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be temporary, but it appears I'm going to be full time.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I love drilling balls for people, and tell you what, like when they shoot their honor score with the ball that you drilled them, it's the absolute best because they're like so thankful.
I know.
Or even if they shoot 180, they're thankful. You know, it's because it's better than the house ball or whatever they're throwing before.
I know. It sucks that you have to find other means because of a governor who doesn't I don't know what he's doing, I guess. I don't know.
Nah, the West Coast governors all have like a group chat for sure.
Oh, they got to. Like, they're all in it together. I don't understand. I don't know.
It's just like the rest of like Florida, I mean, like from the get go, it's like, nope. And they seem to be doing all right.
Dude, I've seen some snaps from last night and down in Miami. There ain't no virus there.
No virus in Miami.
All right, man. Well, it's been 2 hours.
Well, there's one thing I do have to say because we are closing on. Well, we're over 2 hours. I have to address something that was the number one thing that I want to bring up.
Okay.
Did you see that there were shootings in Rockford?
Yeah.
There's a shooting in Rockford.
Yeah.
It was last Saturday.
Jerome, right?
Yeah. So, give me a second. Yeah, so Rome was he was a staple of Carlin's where he got gunned down at. He was like, if I went to Carlin's with Colt, so I went to school in St. Louis, but not long after I became friends with Colt, and he's from Rockford, and I didn't have any family out there, and so Colt's family kind of took me in, and so I'd go there, and then we'd go to Carter's every day while I was there, so Friday through Sunday, and the moment I met Jerome, he instantly talked trash to me. That was trash. I was a youth bowler. Like, I wasn't even old enough to bowl against him. And so he was telling me I was trash. And before I even bowled against him, then the following year I got to bowl against him. But I went there every single break I'd go with Colt because I had to do something on the weekends besides college bowling. And Jerome, unfortunately, was at Carter Lane's when they had the shootout. Or they had a gunman showed up. Apparently it's PTSD or something, whatever. And there's no reason for it. But he shot up Carter Lane's. And Jerome was one of the victims. He hit 6 and wounded 3 others. But Jerome was he was shot in the wherever, and the bullet made him fall over the balcony, and he died from whoever causes. But it doesn't matter. Jerome was he's a Hall of Famer for Rockford. Like, he elected in the Hall of Fame in 1994. That's how important he was to the community. And Shaz showed up in 2008. He was a young buck, and he would talk crap to me, and he would if I bowl him king, I bowl him a king match, he beat me, and I never heard of the end of it. And so I'd see him, and he'd bring up that king match about how he beat me. And back in the 90s, Jerome bowled at this center called 10 Pin Alley or something, or it doesn't matter. It got closed down. But their strike jackpot was $23,000. He bowled 2 leagues a week there just for a crack that season at the jackpot. And 1 week he had to go in the 10th, and he had to throw a strike to hit the jackpot for $23,340. And Jerome hit that strike pot, and he had an article in the newspaper, and his quoted texts are so Rome, like, I was just up there, just doing my thing, and just told myself, like, hey, you gotta hit this. And he hit it. And he's an amazing individual, and
yeah, that's
I can imagine walking in Doncar lanes again, which I will visit Colt and his family again, and Dole and all of them. And I can't imagine a scenario where I walk in the Doncar lanes and Rome is not there to talk shit to me when I walk in the door.
I know. It's like being at Lindenwood. Lindenwood got a lot of people from Rockford. Limish, Colt, Dole, Rothermel, Durr, like all these guys went to, like, Lindenwood was the spot for people.
Yeah, we heavily recruited in Rockford, apparently.
And every time we go up there in Bowl King of the Hill, it was always at Carter's Lanes, and we'd stick around, and there was just a lot of fun, a lot of cool people in the bar, play darts. I couldn't believe when I read they were recruiting that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was sad to hear, and like I was like, oh no, Carter's, and then slowly they're like, her Rome got it. I'm like, what? Not Rome. Like not only did he bowl every day there, every week, he also hung out and played, the races and whatnot. So I imagine he was just playing the races and then just wrong place, wrong time, man. And I don't want to say that, because I'll never say that guns are a problem, because I think everyone should have the right to arm themselves. But I think mental health, especially in the military, because you don't know this probably about me, Brad, but I lost a brother-in-law when I was probably 16. I don't know, I was 18. He killed himself.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens a lot, dude.
My sister was married to a guy, and he killed himself. And so mental health in the military needs to be a priority.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. I know it's tough, dude. I'm like, I don't remember Rome specifically, but I just know a lot of people that call Carter's home, and I couldn't believe it when I read it. So.
Yeah.
Hi, bro.
Just give me a second.
I know. Well, let's get off here.
Well, it's hey man, we should do this again.
Yeah, we should.
I mean, we can obviously talk for days.
I know, and the year of 2021, after listening to that the podcast with Murphy and Flanagan, I really want to do more of these. So if you're out there and you're in the bowling industry and you want to hop on a call with Kyle or I or whoever, I'd be more than willing to. I think these are good.
Yeah. So in the future, if you want to talk to me about the West Coast shutdowns about or Brad, we'll do one of these, and you can call in and you can vent your frustrations. You can, if you have a small business or if you're a bowling center, and then we'll do our best to answer any questions and just vent with you, because we're out there with you.
I know. I live in a state that isn't shut down, so not a whole lot has changed for me. I couldn't imagine living in California or Washington. Couldn't imagine.
All right, Brad, this was a lot of fun. Let's do this again.
All right, brother. Thanks for everyone for hanging out, commenting. We'll see y'all around. We got the Players Championship qualifier in Texas. Kyle and I will be vlogging that. Actually, Kyle and I are going to Utah, assuming I'm negative, and we'll be making videos out in Utah. So we will keep in touch with you guys soon.
And make sure you follow Brad and Kyle YouTube page. I'm Dean on. I'm Richard's Dean on Instagram, and I don't post anything unless. Well, I'm gonna have a kid in 2 months, so you'll see a lot of kid photos soon, I imagine.
You're locked up,
so don't follow me if you don't want to see kid photos.
All right. Well, I'll see you, man.
All right. Take care, bud.